Good afternoon and welcome back to the Veterans in Politics Nevada State Assembly candidate interviews. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Ron Q for Clark County Treasurer, Michael Broadway Real Estate, Real Water, and the Lakeside Business Suites. At this time, I would like to let the panel members introduce themselves, and also because our candidate for District 18, Richard Hawkins, confirmed after the deadline, we would like each panel member to vote on whether this candidate interview can go forward.
I vote go. Geraldi US Marine.
Robert Foust, United States Army, I vote for him.
Thank you, panel.
Thank you.
My name is Alexis Plunkett. I'm a Nevada criminal defense attorney, and at this time, we would like to give Richard Hawkins, candidate for District 18, a 1-minute opportunity to introduce himself and tell us about his background.
I'm Richard Hawkins. I'm an attorney. I'm a displaced economics professor and statistician, and I've been complaining for years and years and realized it was finally time to either put up or shut up. And I have been bothered by some of the directions Nevada has been going. I think the term commonly in the vernacular is Californication. I fled California for a reason. I came here for a reason. And I'd like to see Nevada restored to what it was and stop moving that direction. When somebody tells me we should do something because that's what we did in California, I think that's an indication from the start that it's probably wrong if we're doing it differently from them.
Thank you, and I'd like to turn over to the panel for any questions.
J. Geraldi. Would you vote for or against banning semi-automatic assault weapons?
Well, I caught it, but I don't buy into the phrasing that a semi-automatic rifle is a assault weapon in the first place. I think the Army and Marines would be very unhappy if that's what they were handed when they actually had an assault. But no, I would not vote to ban those. There may be some particular variants out there that are nasty, but what I've noticed over the years is when either a state bans them, I was in California when they had their big ban, or when the federal government does it, like Dianne Feinstein's committee, they do things like flip through a catalog and think, oh, that one scares me. And I have never seen a bill that had any correlations with weapons actually used in crimes being the same as the ones that are banned. So if it looks like any of the ones I've ever seen, I'd vote against it.
I think the mic went off again.
I don't think so.
That?
Just press it till it stays green, press and hold the button, it should turn green.
Turn green again.
There you go. Robert Foust. So could you tell us a little bit about your district and what do you think is the biggest problem in your district and what are you going to do to resolve it?
My district has changed since I moved into it. I bought my house back in 1990. At the time it was basically middle class. It's now more of a lower middle class. I tell people that our security system in there is largely that nobody has anything worth stealing. It's taken an economic downturn, and in the market housing crash a few years ago, my neighborhood actually went down more than North Las Vegas, almost as much as those little pockets down by, I just shut off the end. My neighborhood went down by about 3/4 compared to 2/3 for North Las Vegas and a little over 50% for most of Las Vegas. It's really a matter of the general economy, I think, is our biggest concern. And again, I'm an economics professor. I'm well aware that most of the time there is nothing that the government can do to you. You have another mic? This battery is done. Should I just go to a professorial volume?
Well, it feeds into the feed.
So am I picking up on the feed?
No.
He's fine. He's fine.
All right.
He's fine.
The biggest thing the government can do most of the time to help the economy is not do anything stupid to get in the way. The next one on the list is to stop doing things that are stupid. Again, there's obviously government needs taxes to function. We all have something or another that we want out of it. But there's definitely a level where the level of taxation, for example, slows down the economy. We've seen the economy pick up in the last year just over anticipation of changes. Okay, you're getting me excited as an economist and talking about expectations again. But the anticipation of a change is there. So basically, staying back will be the biggest help. Assistance to businesses, getting any barriers to opening a business out would help. And probably trying to get some to seed. When I look through the strip malls and what have you in my area, they are still mostly empty. So not getting in the way of economic progress and growth is the biggest single thing.
What's the zip code there?
I'm an 89121.
Jay Geraldi. Richard, would you support competition within the school, our school system, as far as allowing what we already have, which is the charter schools, private schools, and bringing a discretion level down to the school campus where the principal and the teachers have a more discretion in how they want to lead their education on the school campus versus centralized at the state level Department of Education or
That's one of my pet topics, actually. Yes, and on most things, I am in favor of decentralizing whatever as far as it can practically go. The Clark County School District is way too large. And so, yes, giving authority back to principals. I suspect I'm going to probably get in trouble for saying this, but I suspect you could go to the district offices and fire every third person at random and have the system run better. The bureaucracy tends to start serving itself. So yeah, I'm very much a fan of almost any decentralization you can propose. And that's one of my favorites.
Robert Foust, if you were sitting on the state assembly and a bill came before you to defund Planned Parenthood, would you do that and why?
I would, well, actually, my first step would just be to actually get the legislative council to take a look and make sure it wasn't a dead bang loser if we defunded it that would just cost us a bunch of money in legal fees. Assuming that we have a reasonable chance of surviving the inevitable court challenge, yes, I would. I don't think that's an appropriate place for government to be spending money. I do support life from conception till natural death, so I would definitely want to see that defunded if it became a possibility. But again, I am also not going to, even if it's the right law to exist, if it's a dead bang loser and the Supreme Court has already said no, there's no reason for Nevada to waste a couple $100,000 on the appellate work if we know the result. In that case, chip away as much as you can and come back to fight it in another year.
With that said, Richard, as the Nevada State Assembly, if you were to hold the seat for District 18 and there was a bill presented to hold the judiciary accountable to where if they judge outside of the constitutional confinements that they're required to interpret and start to legislate from the bench, would you support a bill that would hold the judiciary accountable on that?
In principle, yes. As a practical matter, I haven't seen a workable proposal for that yet. But yes, the judiciary is supposed to interpret the Constitution they have, not the one they think we should have, or the one they think would be better we should have. I think at the moment the only real choice we have on that, if when that comes up, is impeachment. So I'm certainly open to the idea, but I haven't seen the form of it that actually does it. I mean, I haven't seen a specific proposal that would get us what we're trying to get to on that. But absolutely, it's not up to them to stick their own conscience in, their own opinion in, their own view of what the Constitution should have said in. I absolutely reject the notion of one of our former Supreme Court, actually it was more than one of our former Supreme Court justices that said that the Supreme Court is a sitting ongoing constitutional convention. That's nonsense. We have a perfectly good Constitution and I like it.
Robert Faust, if you were sitting on the assembly and a bill came before you to establish a tribunal for the family court system, a tribunal, In other words, 3-judge panel to hear these cases. Would you be for or against that?
Do you mean to hear every case or as an
To
individual?
hear every case, and then you could go to a 5-panel or a 7-panel judge for appellate.
I would want to see the details on it. And I'm aware of some of the issues that have come up in our family court there.
Ex parte?
I'm just horrified by some of the ex parte stuff that I see coming up. Almost the only time a family court judge should ever receive an ex parte communication is if an order shortening time, which is a trivial fact that is done ex parte, and you still notice the other side. If a child is in imminent danger of physical harm, such as kidnapping. Years ago, I did practice family law. There were a couple of times where I needed to get immediate protective relief. I had a woman in front of me that had very little pale color left in her face between all the black and blue. So no, I'm not a fan of any substantive relief at any time being granted. It should only be, and it's only ever supposed to be, a temporary order to hold things till a shortened time hearing can be held, such as a preliminary injunction in civil cases. So, but for the concerns you're addressing, we could have it, having every single motion heard by multiple judges is probably going to get very cumbersome very fast. It's hard enough to get an opinion back from one judge a lot of the time. For actual trials, it may well make sense to do that. I wouldn't rule it out. I'd want to see further study on it. It may indeed be a solution to a lot of our problems.
Richard, got a question from Eddie on Facebook. Would you reject a tax increase on property by
Yes.
manipulating the formula?
Any time we have a bureaucrat looking to reinterpret a formula given them to by the legislature or the Congress, I'm already getting scared, and now we're down to the old Mark Twain warning to watch out for your life and property because the legislature is in session. And he hadn't even heard of bureaucrats like these. They didn't have them back then. No, agencies should not be able to reinterpret tax laws. I can't think of an example in which they ever should.
With that said, would you vote for or against increasing property tax?
I see no reason for property tax increase right now. I mean, I just don't see a case ever having been made for it. So with everything I know right now, I'd absolutely vote against it.
Robert Foust. I don't really think I have too much more for him. I don't have too much more for him.
It wasn't me this time.
Richard, is there anything that you see in the current political landscape that would justify increasing property tax?
No, I just don't see anything out there. If California starts sending in incursionary forces, but they haven't done that since the 1850s, so I'm really not too worried about that.
Robert Faust. So we have a huge mental illness problem in this country. Could you see some sort of a state legislation that gets passed where some of these hospitals that we have today that are medical hospitals have to incorporate a mental health institution into their being?
That could be a solution for it, and I think we need to go back and revisit the notion. We went too far to the extreme on not using involuntary hospitalization. So we have folks that are a danger to themselves and others that could be assisted. Somebody that doesn't have the capacity to make a reasoned choice on refusing treatment while they're not receiving it shouldn't be able to make that choice and impose the burden both on themselves and on society. So yes, we definitely do need more. We really need to take a hard look at how we deal with mental illness.
What do you have to say about the privatization of the Veterans Affairs for Veterans Healthcare?
Again, you're talking to a free market economics professor, so most things I would like to see, if it can be done rationally, I tend to like privatization. However, those are services that are being done very poorly right now. I think rather than moving immediately to privatization, we should be able to give veterans a private option, the option to go to the physician of their choice, or the option to go into the system as it stands now. But there have been so many scandals coming out of there. I see people complaining about what we spent on veterans, or the veterans this and the veterans that, and the best response I've seen is that if we don't want to deal with wounded veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder, then we shouldn't be making so many. We owe it to veterans to do
This is the Veterans Care Card right here. It's worthless.
I've heard that more than once. So yeah, I think you should be, if the VA is covering you because you took an injury serving the country, if they don't have somebody there ready to treat you, you should be able to go to J random physician and say, here's my card, and the VA should take care of it. Absolutely.
We have another question from Facebook. I'll try to move this over here so I can read it. Would you fight hard to reject the Democrat caucus plan to change the state constitution to institute a state income tax?
Oh, yeah. If you want a state income tax, California is about 50 miles in that direction.
There you go.
No, it's a bad idea. It would cause problems. The lack of a state income tax is one of the reasons for Nevada's competitive advantage compared to other states. No, state income tax is a really dumb idea for Nevada.
I think we're done.
Yeah, did you want school choice?
Oh, did you? Well, you have after we're done, you have a minute to
Okay.
touch on anything you'd like to touch on. But if you want to go ahead,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I'm very much for it in most forms. The studies that have been done, I would certainly want the ESAs funded. The students should be able to take that where they want to go. And there have been studies, one that there's actually been school choice offered. Only about 10% of parents choose to take their school to the next school over. Right? Almost everybody chooses their local school. However, 10% of any market, you're talking about 10% of a school budget, that is more than enough to cause competition and to get the benefits of competition. So yeah, this grammar school should be competing with the next grammar school over, and the charter school, and the Catholic school, and the Episcopal school, and the Jewish school, and the other non-sectarian schools. Absolutely. And I think we'd actually, and that's one of the things determined in terms of long-term growth. When you introduce competition into something, you get more of what you want. That'll give us more prepared middle school students. The competition of the middle school students will give us more prepared high school students as they've been taught better. And the same thing going forward to college.
Thank you. At this point, we'd like to give Mr. Hawkins a 1-minute chance to summarize why he would like to have the Nevada Veterans in Politics endorsement.
First on that, let me say thank you for all your service. I am and always have been a supporter of veterans and the various programs for them. The reasons that I think I would be the best choice here is I'm an angry old guard Nevadan who wants Nevada back like Nevada, or as I phrased in a couple of places, a Nevada for Nevadans. On the other hand, that has some overtones. We take it to other contrasts. I don't push that too hard, but I want to preserve what is special about Nevada. We're a small government state. When I got here, the governor was a pro-life Democrat who defeated a pro-choice Republican in the election. That type of not adhering to the standard party lines is part of what's gotten us there. And so I will not be a party line player. I'll certainly vote for the speaker from the party that elects me, but I won't be doing it as party line. I have a great understanding of economics, having spent years doing that. and am able to recognize one of the, hey, no, that's a stupid idea, don't do it. Because a lot of the time, the best thing to do is to just not mess it up.
I'd like to say thank you to our panel. Thank you to our sponsors, Ron Q for Clark County Treasurer, Michael Broadway, Real Estate, Real Water, and Lakeside Business Suites. And that concludes the Veterans in Politics candidate interview for Nevada State Assembly, District 18.